Imagine watching your favorite TV show or movie and realizing that one single man was behind some of the most unforgettable cars ever put on screen. Cars that weren't just vehicles, they were characters in their own right. The sleek black Batmobile, the ghoulish coffin non-wheels from the Munsters, the ridiculous station wagon from Vacation, they all came from the same creative mind. That man was George Barris, known as the king of Kustomizers. Barris didn't just design cars, he rewrote what cars could mean. His creations weren't background props, they stole the spotlight, became symbols of their shows, and in some cases, outshined the actors themselves. What made Barris different was his ability to turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. He could take a forgotten concept car or even a literal coffin and transform it into something that audiences couldn't stop talking about. And every time his work appeared on screen, it carried that same unmistakable mix of shock, style, and pure imagination. Over the years, his shop, Barris Custom Industries, became a legendary hub for Hollywood. If a director needed a car that would burn itself into the audience's memory, Barris was the man they called. And today, we're diving into 20 of his most famous and outrageous builds, each one a piece of pop culture history, each one with a story that's as wild as the car itself. But where else could we possibly start, other than with the Batmobile? When the producers of the 1960s Batman series realized they needed a car that looked like it had rolled straight out of a comic book, they didn't have years to design one. They had just 3 weeks, and that's when George Barris stepped in. Instead of starting from scratch, Barris looked to something most people had already forgotten: the 1955 Lincoln Futura, a futuristic concept car that Ford had built and abandoned. Where others saw a failed experiment, Barris saw potential. With a razor-sharp eye and a ridiculous deadline, he reimagined the Futura into what would become one of the most famous cars in TV history, the 1966 Batmobile. Sleek black paint, fluorescent red trim, bubble canopy, and fins that looked like bat wings. This wasn't just a car, it was a statement. The Batmobile wasn't simply Batman's ride, it became his sidekick. It had gadgets, flamethrowers, parachutes, and the kind of over-the-top style that perfectly matched the campy tone of the show. Audiences couldn't get enough, and even today, the '66 Batmobile is still considered the definitive version. Collectors have paid millions for replicas, comic fans treat it like sacred history, and car lovers still argue it's one of the most important custom builds ever made. But what makes the story even wilder is that this legendary car was born out of desperation and scraps, proof of Barris's genius under pressure. And while the Batmobile gave heroes their edge, Barris's next project would prove that even monsters deserved cars of their own. After proving he could build the ultimate hero car with the Batmobile, Barris took a hard left turn into the world of horror comedy. The year was 1964, and TV audiences were just meeting a strange family that lived at 1313 Mockingbird Lane, the Munsters. The producers needed a car that matched the family's gothic, over-the-top vibe. Barris delivered something so outrageous it instantly became a star of the show, the Munster Koach. Built from 3 separate Ford Model T bodies, stretched into an 18-foot-long hot rod, the coach looked like it had been stitched together in Frankenstein's garage. With ornate lantern-style headlights, a coffin-shaped grille, and spooky details everywhere, it wasn't just transportation, it was a rolling haunted house. But Barris didn't stop there. When the script called for Grandpa Munster to need his own ride, Barris leaned into the joke even harder. The result? Dragula, a real dragster built around an actual fiberglass coffin. With chrome organ pipes for exhaust and a golden coffin body, it was morbid, ridiculous, and brilliant all at once. Audiences loved it because it was shocking but playful, creepy but funny, exactly the Munsters style. Dragula even ended up in feature-length Munsters movies and still makes appearances at car shows today. These cars proved Barris could do more than just sleek superhero style. He could embrace the bizarre and turn it into TV magic. And as strange as a coffin car sounds, his next creation was just as unforgettable, a beat-up old jalopy that carried a family of millionaires straight into American pop culture. While Barris had already mastered heroes and monsters, he also had a knack for turning everyday vehicles into cultural icons. Take the Clampetts' ride from the Beverly Hillbillies. On the surface, it was just an old jalopy. But in Barris's hands, it became a symbol of charm, chaos, and comedy rolled into one. Built from a 1921 Oldsmobile, the truck carried the newly rich Clampett family from their humble home in the Ozarks to a mansion in Beverly Hills. Its squeaks, rattles, and rickety charm made it a character in its own right. Every bump in the road, every improbable stunt, highlighted Barris's talent for crafting vehicles that weren't just functional, they were storytelling machines. The truck's odd proportions, exaggerated features, and slightly cartoonish flair gave it a presence no actor could match. Kids watched it and laughed, adults remembered its absurdity, and decades later, the image of that wooden, wobbling jalopy is still instantly recognizable. Barris had taken something ordinary and, like he had with the Batmobile and the Munsters rides, turned it into something unforgettable. But next, he shifted gears entirely, moving from comedy to crime fighting, with a car that was deadly serious and packed with gadgets that could rival any spy movie. If the Beverly Hillbillies truck was all charm and comedy, Black Beauty was the exact opposite, sleek, dangerous, and downright intimidating. This was the car of a crime-fighting vigilante, Kato's Ride, famously driven by Bruce Lee in the 1966 Green Hornet series. Built on a 1966 Chrysler Imperial, Barris transformed the already imposing vehicle into a machine straight out of a spy thriller. Hidden compartments, guns, rocket launchers, and all sorts of futuristic gadgets turned a normal car into a mobile arsenal. The styling was just as bold: glossy black paint, menacing chrome accents, and an unmistakable silhouette that screamed speed and power. Fans couldn't get enough. Black Beauty didn't just transport its heroes. It became part of the action. Car chases, clever stunts, and those signature gadgets made the show more than a crime drama. It was a showcase for Barris's ingenuity. And while this car thrilled viewers with danger, Barris also knew how to make vehicles that were funny, relatable, and absurd, a skill he would show next with one of the most ridiculous family cars in movie history. After the sleek menace of Black Beauty, Barris flipped the script completely with a car built for comedy, the Wagon Queen family truckster from National Lampoon's Vacation. On the surface, it looked like a regular station wagon, but Barris had a special talent for turning the mundane into something absurdly unforgettable. Based on a 1979 Ford Country Squire, Barris exaggerated every detail. The wood paneling was over the top, the proportions awkward, and the overall effect hilariously unbalanced, the perfect visual metaphor for the Griswolds' chaotic family vacation. Every dent, every clumsy design choice amplified the comedy on screen. Audiences instantly recognized it as more than just a car, it was a character in the story. The truckster's flaws mirrored the family's own misadventures, making every scene funnier and every mishap feel larger than life. Barris proved once again that a car didn't need rocket launchers or gothic styling to steal the spotlight. Sometimes, pure absurdity was enough. And just when you think Barris was all about humor, he reminded the world that he could make a car terrifying too. Next up, a vehicle that became the literal villain of a horror movie. Not every vehicle Barris built was funny or heroic. Some were downright menacing. Take the car from the 1977 horror film of the same name, a sinister, soulless machine that terrorized an entire town. Barris transformed a 1971 Lincoln Continental Mark III into a rolling nightmare. Its blacktop body, aggressive front grille, and ominous design made it feel alive, like a predator on wheels. Unlike the whimsical Munsters cars or the gadget-laden Black Beauty, this was pure, unadulterated menace. The filmmakers wanted a vehicle that could instill fear without ever speaking or showing a face. Barris delivered, creating a car that wasn't just a prop, it was the villain. Audiences were shocked by how a seemingly ordinary automobile could feel so terrifying, and it cemented Barris's reputation as a designer who could tackle any genre. But even after crafting horror, Barris never abandoned futuristic flair or superhero flair. Next, he would take a familiar TV concept and turn it into a high-tech dream machine that captivated millions, a car that could talk, think, and chase down criminals with style. By the 1980s, television audiences were ready for a car that was more than just a machine. They wanted a partner in crime fighting. Enter Kit from Knight Rider, the sleek, high-tech Pontiac Trans Am that could think, talk, and outrun almost anything. While the initial design was done by Michael Schaff, George Barris was brought in to upgrade and modify later versions, including the convertible model and the famous Super Pursuit mode. He took an already iconic car and added layers of futuristic flair that made Kit feel alive. From the glowing red scanner to its smooth black exterior, every detail screamed sophistication and power. Barris's touch ensured Kit wasn't just a car on TV, it was a symbol of innovation, a cultural icon that inspired toy lines, posters, and decades of fan obsession. Kids dreamed of driving it, adults marveled at the tech, and the car's legendary status only grew over time. And while Kit represented the ultimate cool factor, Barris also loved pushing the envelope in fun and creative ways, sometimes by literally putting a car on stage with music. Next up, a rolling rock and roll machine unlike anything else. Not all of Barris's creations were tied to TV shows or movies. Sometimes he ventured into pure spectacle. The Voxmobile was one such project, a novelty car built for the Vox amplifier company that doubled as a rolling sound system. Picture it, a car that wasn't just for getting from point A to point B, but for blasting music and drawing crowds wherever it went. It embodied the spirit of the 1960s rock and roll era, combining automotive flair with showmanship. Barris transformed a simple vehicle into a mobile stage, a promotional marvel that caught eyes and turned heads everywhere it rolled. It was a reminder that Barris didn't just design cars for drama or narrative, he could make them interactive, experiential, and unforgettable. Audiences weren't just watching, they were feeling the energy that the car projected. And while the Voxmobile was a rolling party, Barris also had a knack for cars that burned rubber and dominated the beach racing scene. Next up, to high-octane, adrenaline-pumping builds that thrilled audiences on screen. Barris wasn't just about TV and gimmicks, he could also craft pure adrenaline machines for the big screen. Take the Fireball 500, a customized 1966 Plymouth Barracuda built for the beach racing film starring Frankie Avalon. Sleek, fast, and built for thrills, it captured the excitement of the era's car culture perfectly. Not long after, he tackled the Thundercharger, a 1967 Dodge Charger designed for the beach racing movie Thunder Alley. With aggressive lines, bold styling, and the kind of presence that made it impossible to ignore, Barris once again proved he could make vehicles steal the show even when human actors were on screen. These films weren't just about cars, they were about the feeling of speed, freedom, and rebellion. And Barris's vehicles delivered that experience on a level audiences had never seen before. Each build wasn't just functional, it was an emotion on wheels. But while these cars thrilled with speed, Barris also had a flair for the futuristic and the experimental. Vehicles that looked like they had jumped straight out of a sci-fi comic. Next, the AMX400 would showcase his visionary designs like never before. In the early 1970s, Barris proved he could blur the line between reality and imagination with the AMX400, a custom car built for the TV series Banachek. Based on an AMC AMX coupe, this vehicle looked like it had come from a futuristic concept car showroom rather than a television set. Its sleek lines, bold curves, and cutting-edge modifications made it feel ahead of its time, even by Hollywood standards. Rare and unique, the AMX400 wasn't just a background prop. It was a statement of innovation, showing that Barris could design something that felt like it belonged in tomorrow, not yesterday. Though it appeared in just a single episode, the car left a lasting impression, proving that Barris didn't need fame or a blockbuster budget to make a vehicle unforgettable. Every angle, every detail was meticulously crafted to stand out on screen and linger in the audience's memory. And just when you think Barris's designs couldn't get more imaginative, he turned his attention to vans, but not ordinary vans. Next up, the bubble-topped, futuristic Vandora. While most custom vans of the 1970s were practical or at best quirky, Barris took things to a whole new level with the Vandora. Built on a 1966 Dodge van for the 1977 film Supervan, this was no ordinary vehicle. With a futuristic bubble-top roof, flashy paint, and a design that looked like it had been pulled straight from a sci-fi comic, the Vandora screamed, "Look at me from every angle." Barris didn't just modify a van, he reinvented the idea of a van. Inside and out, it was playful, outrageous, and totally in tune with the decade's obsession with custom automotive creativity. Audiences loved it for its boldness and sheer spectacle, cementing Barris's reputation as the man who could make even the most utilitarian vehicle into a showstopper. And just as he could turn modern vehicles into stars, Barris also had a deep love for classic designs. Barris shifted gears once more to the action-packed world of crime-fighting cars with the Coyote. Barris had already mastered superheroes, monsters, comedy, and classic elegance, but he could also create cars built for pure action and excitement. Enter the Coyote, a sleek, custom-kit car used in the 1983 to 1986 TV series Hardcastle and McCormick. Based on a custom Manta car, the Coyote combined performance with style, giving the show's protagonists a vehicle that could match their daring stunts and high-speed chases. Its aggressive lines, low profile, and aerodynamic design made it look fast even when standing still, a signature Barris touch that made audiences instantly fall in love. Every chase, every jump, every drift on screen highlighted Barris's ability to blend aesthetics with functionality. The car wasn't just a tool for the characters. It was a character itself, full of personality and flair. And while the Coyote was action-packed, Barris never forgot the superheroes, creating flashy, futuristic vehicles that pushed imagination even further. Next, the unforgettable electric car from Electro Woman and Dyna Girl. In 1976, Barris turned his attention to superhero TV once again, this time for the series Electro Woman and Dyna Girl. The show needed a vehicle as bold and electrifying as its heroes. And Barris delivered with the Electricar, a futuristic, eye-catching ride that looked like it had been pulled straight from a comic book. With flashy designs, vibrant colors, and every detail exaggerated for effect, the Electricar wasn't just transportation, it was an extension of the heroes themselves. Its style captured the imagination of young viewers, combining speed, innovation, and pure visual spectacle. Barris had a unique talent for making cars feel alive, and the Electricar was no exception. Every curve, every gadget, every sleek line was designed to dazzle audiences and make the car as memorable as the characters who drove it. But Barris's creativity wasn't confined to television superheroes. Even blockbuster films sought his expertise, including one of the biggest movies of the early 90s. Next up, the uncredited modifications Barris did for Jurassic Park's tour vehicles. Even decades into his career, Barris was still leaving his mark on Hollywood, sometimes in ways audiences didn't even realize. Take Jurassic Park in 1993. While he went uncredited, Barris Custom Industries performed modifications on the tour vehicles that carried visitors through the dinosaur-filled park. These weren't just standard Jeeps or trucks. Barris transformed them into safely reinforced, cinematic-ready machines that could handle high-speed sequences, rough terrain, and the unpredictable chaos of dinosaurs on screen. Every detail, from the paint job to subtle design tweaks, ensured the vehicles looked both believable and memorable. It was a reminder that Barris's influence spanned genres, decades, and even films where audiences might never know his name. He wasn't just designing cars for flash, he was crafting tools that served the story, adding realism, excitement, and cinematic flair. And after dabbling in real-world blockbusters, Barris still found room for outrageous, experimental creations. Next, the twin-engine spy car known as the ZZR. Barris wasn't just a master of superheroes, horror, and high-tech vehicles, he could also create outrageous, over-the-top spy cars that defied imagination. The ZZR, built for the 1966 spy comedy Out of Sight, was one of his most ambitious and bizarre creations. Powered by twin Buick engines, this custom car was all about spectacle. Its design screamed eccentricity, bold lines, futuristic contours, and mechanical features that seemed to belong in a comic book rather than a film set. It wasn't just a car, it was a showpiece, engineered to grab attention and leave audiences talking long after the credits rolled. The ZZR perfectly demonstrated Barris's flair for the unexpected. He could take a concept that seemed impossible and turn it into a fully functional, screen-ready vehicle that felt larger than life. Every engine roar, every stunt, and every camera angle highlighted the genius behind his designs. By this point, it was clear Barris didn't just build cars, he built cultural icons, each with its own story, personality, and lasting legacy. From the iconic Batmobile to the eccentric ZZR, George Barris proved time and again that cars could be more than just transportation. They could tell stories, steal scenes, and become characters themselves. His work spanned comedy, horror, action, and sci-fi, leaving an indelible mark on television and film for generations. What made Barris truly remarkable wasn't just his technical skill, but his vision. He could see potential where others saw ordinary vehicles, a 1955 concept car, a coffin, or a 1921 jalopy, and turn it into something unforgettable. Each creation was bold, imaginative, and perfectly attuned to the story it was part of. Even decades later, collectors, fans, and car enthusiasts still celebrate his work. Replicas, restorations, and tributes continue to remind us that Barris wasn't just customizing cars. He was crafting cultural icons that shaped pop culture itself. And perhaps the most incredible thing about his legacy? He showed the world that with creativity, daring, and a touch of madness, even a car can become legendary. George Barris didn't just build cars. He built dreams on wheels, and those dreams continue to inspire every corner of entertainment and automotive design today.